Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, over the past couple of weeks, things have been quite dicey out there in the seas as we struggle to deal with the situation that resulted from the Cabo Star, that little fire that occurred that took the Cabo Star out of service. And as we await that vessel being able to come back on stream, things are difficult for our business folks, especially our truckers. And I keep continuing to speak about our truckers because they are the ones that have to bear the brunt of this and to have to go through all the drama. It's not nice what they go through to make sure that we in Tobago have the goods and supplies that we need to survive day after day. So on with us this morning, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Lyle Alexander, who is the chairman of the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Alexander.
Good morning, Kandace.
It's so great to have you on this morning to give us such a perspective on this. First of all, I want to start with this vessel that's coming from Venezuela, the Emperador. I'm sorry, I'm going to get that name mixed up quite again. But this new vessel is coming, and it's supposed to reach here on the weekend?
We expect it tomorrow, yes.
Right.
That's the information we have.
Great. And how long before that vessel will be able to be placed into service?
It will be in service after the necessary statutory documentations have been signed off and approvals given from customs, and I think the cabinet also has to approve some exemptions. As soon as that is done, the vessel will be put into service.
So no timeline yet?
Well, I expect that by the end of the working day on Monday, all those statutory documents will be sorted out. That's my expectation.
Now, what can you tell us about the vessel itself? Because we saw some images yesterday of the vessel, and it looks similar to a barge. And there were some concerns being raised by a number of people within the space, as though we're going back to the situation that we were faced with in 2017 when the Superfast Galicia was taken out of operations within Trinidad and Tobago. And then we had the barge and the Atlantic Provider and so on coming in. And then people are now wondering, why are we back in this position again?
Well, we are where we are right now because this is almost an emergency. So this is an interim situation that we found ourselves in. And the charterer, Bridgman's, decided to make an offer to ease the situation that we're in. And this is the vessel that was available, closest vessel available that we can put on the line to do the work that we want at this time. This was certainly not a planned issue. This is an interim measure to take care of the current situation. And
what about the details about how it sails, how fast it goes? From my information, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It sails about 10 knots. And explain what that means in terms as to how long do you estimate the journey would take between Trinidad and Tobago and so on?
Well, based on the statistics, on the specifications that we have seen, the vessel is expected to do 10 knots. 10 knots will give us a journey to Tobago of about 10 hours. Has around 200 plus lane meters that we can put trucks on. The number of trucks that we'll have will depend on the size of the vessels, on the trucks, of course. So we will work with what we have as an interim measure.
And would it be able to take trucks that are larger than 3 tons? Because right now that's a major concern being faced. Because the passenger ferries can't take the larger trucks, and then the business community is now faced with the challenges of trying to find smaller trucks, find the drivers, and all the additional costs that's associated with that.
Yes, it will be able to take heavier trucks, yes.
And how long do you estimate that we would have this vessel in this position?
Well, the expectation is that the repairs on the Cabo Star should be completed by the 17th, 18th. and my understanding is that the engagement of this vessel is until the Cabo Star is back in service.
Now, a lot of Tobagonians right now are just apprehensive about this move. What assurances that you can give to them that the Port Authority is doing their best, and just even safety on board the vessel, all of those things, making sure that we could return to some bit of normalcy in terms of being able to get our goods across the islands?
Well, in terms of assurance, our assurance will come, or is coming through our performance in terms of what we do and how we do what we do. Our commitment is to ensure that the sea bridge never goes down again, and we'll do everything that we possibly can to ensure that. There's certainly efforts that we have been making in terms of our customer service that we are comfortable with, that we're going with so far. There's always something more that we can do, but in terms of doing the best we can with the resources that we have available, we will continue to do that.
What can you tell us about the update on being able to get a cargo vessel that's specially built for Tobago? Because back in 2017, 2018, that was the assurance coming from the government that they would first go towards acquiring 2 new ferries, which they did. And the next step would be for us to acquire a specially built vessel that would be able to effectively transport goods across the islands. We have not heard anything since. The Cabo Star was originally only supposed to be around for about 3 years. It's now 6 years after the fact. Where are we in trying to get an additional cargo vessel?
Well, NIDCO is in a better position to speak about acquiring the vessels than we are at the moment. But in all fairness, the efforts so far are ongoing, actually, and there are challenges but the NIDCO is actually working on delivering those vessels as promised by the government.
And is there any details that you can share with us at this point in time? Because these are some of the questions that a lot of people are on the ground asking.
No, there are no details that we can give. We too are waiting on the process. NIDCO has been authorized to acquire the vessels, and they're working on that. So there's nothing more that we are aware of at the moment that we can share. In terms of where they are, NIDCO is the organization now, the agency, who can give you those details.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the Port Authority is working on contingency plans when, in case something happens like this again, because the vessels are mechanical, accidents happen, or mechanics, they go down from time to time, but we always need to have a backup. So what are these backup plans that the Port Authority is going to put into place so that we don't have a situation like this anymore?
Good question. Contingency is dependent on the risks that you plan for. A situation like this that came up is certainly one that, it was almost like a perfect storm. When this incident, the fire took place, and the Cabo Star went out of service, when we were at probably the peak of our delivery of transport between Trinidad and Tobago. We had one of the it was a bumper season this July-August period. So this coming onto this made this incident occurring at this time put significant pressure on the system. What it has brought to mind is that the vessel that we have on our books, the Spirit, is a vessel would have been the ideal vessel to take up the slack from the Cabo Star because of its design. Unfortunately, that too is down, because when that was on dry dock down at Carry Dock, that's when the dock sunk. So we are faced with a situation which was literally a perfect storm. So given the resources that we have, this is the best that we can do at this time. Thinking down the road, there are other bigger problems that we will have to consider at different levels in terms of, do we and add another vessel to the fleet. All those are options to be considered, and all the reasons why we may do them or not do them will be dependent on the circumstances that will be considered.
The repairs to the TNT Spirit, what do you estimate the cost of that might be?
Oh, given the work that needs to be done, given the fact that we do not have a floating dry dock in Trinidad at the moment, the cost to repair that at this time can be significant. I know that we have a plan in place. I'll prefer to say simply that there is a plan being worked right now as we speak to have the vessel repaired. We will be some millions of dollars will be included.
And what is the conversation like with the blind minister, the Minister of Works and Transport? And I guess maybe the Minister of Finance might have a place to play in this as well. What is that conversation like in terms of making sure we can get the money needed for these ferries? Because I mean, I would think that after what we experienced in 2017, and the effects that had on the business sector in Tobago, the economy of Tobago did suffer because all that went down on the sea bridge. You know, I thought that we would be in a better place now in case something happens to one of the ferries.
Yeah, a very valid question and good comment. And from the Port Authority's perspective, we have to work, as I said, with the resources that we have available to us. We know the value of the Spirit, and we are hoping that we can get it back on the line today. But there are discussions that are going on as we speak, where a presentation will be made to Cabinet to have this activity taking place as soon as possible.
Now, when it also comes to ticketing, we've been able to purchase tickets. We are hearing the complaints from the public that sometimes you cannot purchase tickets on the ferries a few months ahead of time. Why is that?
The system that we have in place is under review and will be changed out. The ideal ticketing system that we have right now, and our expectation is that by within a couple of months, we should see some traction in terms of replacing the existing ticketing system. We are not happy with the system as it is, and we're working to fix that. So what happens now is that again, because of the scheduling of events that we try to cater for example, every time there's a big event in Tobago, from the party weekends to the carnival and everything else, we have to add to our systems, to add to the schedules. So because of that, we give ourselves enough time to make reasonable decisions. So we open up the vessels when we think we have a good schedule for a particular period of time based on the events that we're catering for. On the routine matters, yeah, and this is one of the issues that we have. It will be nice to be able to book a ticket today for next year on the same date and know that you have a guaranteed ticket. But these are the things that we want to put in place in the new system that we're looking towards.
Is this something that's also communicated with the line ministers? Because I mean, I might assume that it would have some costs attached to it, to making sure that we have a more effective ticketing system. So is that being communicated? Because I mean, we have the ministers constantly coming out and telling the Tobago public that you need to book your tickets long in advance. You need to plan your travels, whether it's air bridge, sea bridge. But if you can't book your tickets more than a month or two in advance, then how do you plan to travel?
Well, I can't speak for any comments made by the ministers, having not heard it myself. But as I said, that is certainly a weakness we have in our ticketing system that is under review and will be fixed when the new ticketing system comes into place.
What's the nature of the conversations with the line ministers when you present these challenges to them, in terms of, because I know that the Port Authority would have an idea of what needs to be done to make sure things are improved on the sea bridge. However, you would be dependent on the necessary funding to make it happen. So what is that conversation like? Is there a willingness from the ministers to make it happen so that Tobago doesn't lose its link with Trinidad?
Yeah, well, to speak about the nature of the conversations, look, to be able to effect any changes, we as an agency have to make a case to justify the actions that we want to take, to be able to give our minister an opportunity to make a presentation to the cabinet to get the necessary funding for anything that we need to do. As far as our ministry is concerned, and our relationship with the Ministry of Works and Transport is an excellent one. There's a lot of support that, of course, there will always be, have to be pushback to be able to justify why we want to do certain things. And the other reality is that we are not the only agency in the ministry at the moment. So we compete for resources. And the decisions regarding the eventual activities is made at a higher level. So we do what we have to do to be able to maintain the sea bridge.
Certainly. And if I were to ask you, what's the priority level for the sea bridge in the grand scheme of things for the Port Authority? How high are we on that list?
Well, I can't. If I had a ladder, I'd probably push my head through the roof. It is very high from our perspective. Our mandate is that the sea bridge must not stop moving.
Right. And I know over the years too, one of the complaints, especially that came out in when we had problems in 2017, was that of the representation on the board for the Port Authority, or at least having enough people from the THA or the business sector here in Tobago, so that we could have a little bit more synergy in terms of organizing the sailings and so on to better cater to the needs of the traveling public. Where are we right now where that's concerned?
Powers that you think I have, I don't have. That's a question to be addressed at a higher level. The Port Authority does not select people for boards.
All right. Well, I mean, we are just about ready to wrap up this morning, but Mr. Alexander, I just want to give you a couple of minutes to speak to the Tobago public, because this matter is such a serious matter. It's at the heart of all of our lives here in Tobago. I mean, it's how we eat and everything that when you look at the list of things, I mean, we have like chicken feed and so on, can't get to Tobago. And, there are some farmers, like we had Mr. McConey, egg farm, complaining about, he might see his chickens starting to die, and then that's our egg production, and then that's our ability to feed ourselves. It is a ripple effect. So I just want you to speak to Tobago as we are grappling with these issues at this point in time.
Thank you very much for that. And as a Tobagonian myself, I fully understand what the consequences are. And rest assured that the Port Authority and the management of the Port Authority recognizes this and the importance of the sea bridge to the existence to Tobago and life in Tobago. So there's no question whatsoever about the interest that we in the Port Authority have to ensure that the sea bridge is always operating at its optimum given the resources that we have available. We will make whatever decisions that are required at the time to provide the kind of relief as best as we can under the circumstances. The challenge right now that we have, we do not anticipate it will go on for beyond the 18th. But the thing is, until then, all our resources will be staged to accommodate as much as we possibly can the movement of goods to Tobago. We recognize, of course, that this happened to us could not have come at a worse time given the loads that we were carrying, but we'll do the best that we can. The key thing is, and what we're requesting is, just be a little patient, because and we understand the plight of the truckers. There's no question about that. That's their livelihood. But we will do everything that we possibly can to ensure that people get to and from Tobago. Just to be realistic as well, it's all well and good to complain about not being able to get on the vessel. But at the same time, we want people to understand that given the circumstances, you need to get to the port a little earlier. So if you are late to get onto the vessel, and based on the loading of the vessel, we can't then unload something to put you back on. If you miss your turn in terms of arriving late, then you will have to go on the other ferry. We'll do everything that we can to ensure that those kinds of things happen. So and that's a minor issue that, but is one that people need to, I think people need to bear in mind as well as we work through this together. The interest of the Port Authority is to ensure that the sea bridge between Trinidad and Tobago is not disrupted, or if it is affected, to the minimum effect. There's one other issue I'd just like to address.
Certainly.
And that there have been some questions actually about the vessel that is coming in. The vessel is the interim vessel. It's a landing craft designed for military type operations and so on, to put troops on beaches and vehicles on beaches and things of that nature. And the question was asked about the ramp. At this time, we do not anticipate any issue with the ramp on that vessel to be able to have the continuous service that we expect to deliver when the vessel will be here for the short time we expect it to be.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Lyle Alexander. It was such a pleasure to speak with you this morning and for giving us an update on what's been happening. And hopefully we can have the minister's cooperation, the cooperation of cabinet, to give you, the Port Authority, the ability to make sure we can set things right on the sea bridge.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to it. Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. All right, viewers, we are going to go for a quick break. So please don't go anywhere, because we have a lot more coming up for you afterwards.